UFC on ABC 3, Ortega versus Rodriguez just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and my overall event recap as well, starting with the early prelim opener of Jessica Penna versus Emily Ducote. I was watching this one in the background as I was loading up my stream, and Jessica Penna just couldn't get the takedown for 3 rounds. Very good takedown defense by Emily Ducote, and she just systematically outstruck Jessica Penna across every single round. The third round was dominant and very clear. The first round was very clear as well to Emily Ducote. And also the second round was pretty competitive, but Emily Ducote was mixing up way better. Jessica Penna headhunting a little bit, missing a lot of her shots. And Emily Ducote was chopping at the legs very well. Very good leg kicks across the 3 rounds. And it led to her being good in the later rounds as well. Landing good shots to the body, against the cage. Good shots on the feet as well to the head of Jessica Penna, and just showed that she is another level of fighter than Jessica Penna. A very clear win across the 3 rounds and lived up to expectations. Good job, Emily Ducote. She got the job done by decision win. Moving on up the card, Dwight Grant versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I picked Dwight Grant. I picked Emily Ducote as well, by the way, but I picked Dwight Grant here, but he just did not look good at middleweight. He didn't carry the same power whatsoever. It seemed like whenever he hit Stoltzfus, Stoltzfus was like, okay, I can take those shots. And the more that Dwight Grant actually landed on Stoltze, or whatever his name is, Dustin Stoltzfus, Stoltzfus was just sort of saying to himself, I've got this. Like, I'm more and more confident. I'll start shooting some takedowns now in round 2 and 3. Found his way on top, landing some big shots on Dwight Grant. Dwight Grant had no ground game whatsoever. It showed that Dustin Stoltzfus was a little bit bigger than him. So maybe Dwight Grant didn't take as much time as he needed to move up into the middleweight division. But, yeah, he got outstruck. The first round was pretty close, I do say. Dwight Grant did land some decent shots, but Stoltzfus was landing some really good leg kicks in the fight as well. And in round 2 and 3, it was a clear win for Dustin Stoltzfus, finding his way into dominant positions. And, yeah, Dustin Stoltzfus got the job done by decision win, 30-27, 29-28. First round was close. Last 2 rounds, very clearly Dustin Stoltzfus. Moving on up the card, Dustin Jacoby versus Jung. I picked Jung to win this one. I thought he'd actually do well on the feet and then start mixing in some takedowns against Dustin Jacoby. But Dustin Jacoby was very good as well. Early on the feet, Jung was getting the better of Dustin Jacoby, landing some really good leg kicks. He was actually winning the leg kick battle against Dustin Jacoby early on, and he was landing some decent shots with the hands as well, and then they started sort of jawing at each other and talking to each other and smiling back and forth and stuff like that. So Jung was looking good, doing very good in the fight. He looks like a very talented striker himself. He was a much bigger guy than Dustin Jacoby as well. Surprised how big he was in there. But Dustin Jacoby landed a big 1-2. Let's talk about the stoppage. I think it was a bit of an early stoppage. Do I believe Jacoby would have not have just fucking thrown an extra few shots and finished him? No, like I feel like Jacoby would have maybe gone on to finish that fight. However, you've got to give Jung the chance. It wasn't like he went out and stayed out. He went down, hit his head on the canvas, and immediately rose back up, looking at Jacoby, putting his hands behind him to try and posture to try and get back up to his feet. And then the referee called it off. It was an inexperienced ref. It was the same referee that called off Kutalaba versus Ankliev 1. Fire that referee. I don't know why they keep employing him. He makes these mistakes. And, yeah, he made a mistake. You know why? He's in front of a big crowd on ABC. He's already messed up before as a referee. He doesn't want to build a name for it. So he sees Jacoby drop someone badly and then do a walk-off. Jacoby's walk-off put the pressure on the ref to step in there. He shouldn't have stepped in. Sure, Jung was rocked badly and probably would have lost anyway, but we need to see what really happens just in case. Because look what happened in Lemos Schnell versus Mudaerji. You know what I'm saying? Jung was still with it, popped back up, tried to get back up, but the referee had already called it off. Either way, moving on up the card to another fight. I've got a hair in my mouth. That's just going to stay there then. Hang on. I've got to get this out. I can't have this for the rest of the video. No way. Well. Oh no, a hair. I've got it. We're good. Either way. Moving on up the card, I'll just deal with it. Bill Algeo versus Herbert Burns. Great performance by Bill Algeo. Herbert Burns, you had 8 weeks of training. I picked Bill Algeo to win this one by 2nd round finish. Herbert Burns, what are you doing, dude? You had 8 weeks of training. Bill Algeo had 1 week of training. You're gassing out that quickly in a fight. Fair play, you can say injury this, injury that, but he had 1 submission attempt. It's gone. He had one submission attempt, and that was it. He had a triangle over Bill Algeo. It was a good triangle. It looked like it was in, but Bill Algeo escaped it and survived. He's a very skinny guy, so I guess he's going to be more difficult to lock up a triangle against because he's still got a bit more room than usual people. He doesn't have like a massive bicep in that triangle with him, sort of like crushing into his neck and stuff like that. So, you know what? Credit to Bill Algeo. He survived the triangle attempt. But Herbert Burns, you've got one submission attempt in your game and then you're done? Do you train? Do you train MMA? Listen, the ground and pound from Bill Algeo was good. And it was good. And he was landing some shots to the body as well. And he was even doing some funny stuff like slipping shots out of the way when he was on top and landing some ground and pound back and stuff like that. But Herbert Burns was gassed at the end of round 1. It wasn't even that crazy of a pace. And all he did was one submission attempt and get one takedown. I have no idea how Herbert Burns... And I'm annoyed that he beat Nate Landwehr, because knowing what has happened in a lot of Herbert Burns' fights, if Nate Landwehr got him into the later rounds, that's a Nate Landwehr finish, 100%. But Bill Algeo got out of the submission early on, very good job by him. And then Herbert Burns just completely gassed out, no energy whatsoever, and it ended up being like not even a finish. Just Algeo would make him stand back up, and Burns just was like, oh, I'm just too exhausted and rocked to stand back up, and would take ages about it until the referee eventually had to step in and stop the fight. And Bill Algeo gets it done against Herbert Burns. Good performance by him. I think he got a 50k performance bonus as well. I think everyone who got a finish got a bonus. I guess they keep doing that to incentivize finishes. But either way, Herbert Burns, shocking performance. Cried his eyes out afterwards. Must run in the Burns family name. But yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand why you can gas out that quickly. He must have been injured coming in, but he does it every fight. He did it against Daniel Pineda as well, so it's confusing. Doesn't have much heart, old Herbert Burns. That's why he's called Herbert. You know what I'm saying? What a disgusting name for a disgusting performing fighter. Bill Algeo gets it done. Great performance from him. He's funny. I liked his call out afterwards of Chase Hooper. He kicked the body of Herbert at one point, even threw an axe kick that nearly landed on the head of Herbert Burns, but it landed more on the guard, so he's lucky about that. But Bill Algeo gets it done by TKO. Moving on up the card, Ricky Simone versus Jack Shaw. Ricky Simone gets it done by submission in the second round over Jack Shaw. Jack Shaw was doing well in the first round. Ricky Simone was also doing well in the first round. It was a very close first round. I feel like it genuinely could have gone either way. Both guys did very well in the first, stuffing each other's takedowns. Neither guy could really get a takedown off. Simone would get a takedown, but Shaw would pop right back up immediately. He got a takedown in the second round, and Shaw got right back up as well. So it was an interesting fight. Shaw was getting the better of things on the feet, in my opinion. Simone might have been a bit busier with the takedown attempts and the shots in the clinch and stuff like that, but on the feet, especially at the end of the first round, Jack Shaw started landing some really clean shots on Ricky Simone and doing quite well there, and some really good punches, a couple of kicks here and there as well. But in the second round, Jack Shaw went to go for like a slap right hand, and as he went for the slap right, Simone timed him with a check hook. It landed like middle knuckle right in the temple, rocked him. He goes to his back like Oliveira kind of style, goes to his back to sort of welcome Simone into his guard, but he just wasn't there enough to survive, and Simone just passed right over the guard and got the arm triangle going. So good performance by Ricky Simone. I picked him as an underdog. I thought he was very underrated coming into this matchup, and Jack Shaw, in my opinion, was a little bit too highly rated by people, especially the odds makers. So I picked Ricky Simone to win. He got the job done. He's not going to get O'Malley. Let's give him a rematch against Rob Font, see if he can win that one and get it back. Moving on, up the card, Punahele Soriano versus Dalcha Lungiambula. I went with Punahele Soriano by second round TKO. He got the job done by second round TKO. Dalcha Lungiambula apparently suffered a rib injury at the end of the first. He gasses out anyway, though, so this was likely going to be the way the fight went. Close first round. Dalcha Lungiambula, in my opinion, won that round with the takedowns. Very close outside of that. In fact, Punahele probably landed a few of the better shots, but Dalcha was getting takedowns and landing some total strikes in those positions as well. So you kind of have to give the first round to Dalcha Lungiambula. And Punahele Soriano in the second round timed him well. Right hook, left hook lands clean on the chin of Dalcha. Follow-up shot lands as well, and Dalcha just goes out cold immediately, and he's done. Follow-up shots not needed after that, but they were there anyway, and Punahele Soriano celebrated on top of Dalcha Lungiambula, while Lungiambula came back to consciousness. Very interesting celebration. Good job by Punahele Soriano. I think he got a 50k bonus as well, so Really good win for him. I'm glad he's getting some momentum back because I feel like he's got a lot of potential in his career. He just hasn't really been able to get going in his last few fights against Brendan Allen, Nick Maximov. So hopefully this is the start of more good wins from Punahele Soriano. Moving on up the card to the main card. Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate. Lauren Murphy got the win over Miesha Tate in a 3-round war back and forth. It was a reasonably fun fight. I say 3-round war. The first 2 rounds weren't as good as the third. The third round, it really started to pick up and sort of make up for how bad the fight genuinely was. The first round was very close, could have gone either way, but I gave it to Lauren Murphy because she landed some of the better shots and even, I believe, got a takedown at one point for a second or two and stuff like that, and just was a little bit busier in the clinch against Miesha Tate. Then round 2, same situation again. Lauren Murphy landing a few of the better shots, couple takedowns here and there. Really low-level fight skill-wise, no skill shown by either of them whatsoever. Lauren Murphy was doing a good job of throwing elbows on the break from the clinch and stuff like that, and stuffing the takedowns and making sure to land a couple of shots and a knee to the body on the way back up. Maybe you could have given Miesha Tate round 1, but other than that, round 2 and 3 were clear to Lauren Murphy. No lucky decision this time for Lucky Murphy, so she gets the job done. Third round was a big scrap. Both girls landing decent shots. Both girls cut open. Lauren Murphy just did a little bit more every single time. She won the exchange by 1 strike and then did a bit more in the clinch and stuffed the takedown. Miesha Tate can't grapple. I don't know how she's been training grappling for so long, so her takedowns were terrible. Like, the worst things I've seen in a very long time. But, yeah, interesting stuff, but Miesha Tate just is not good at fighting. Lauren Murphy wins. Moving on, up the card to another good fight, which was Shane Burgos versus Charles Jourdain. Now, Charles Jourdain should have won the fight. I can see why the judges gave it to Burgos, though. I can see why they gave it to Burgos. Now, Jourdain should have won based on rounds 1 and 3. Round 2, no argument, clear Shane Burgos. He had the back the entire time, total striking away, going for rear naked choke attempts over and over again. But in round 1, Burgos did have 2 minutes of control time, over 2 minutes of control time, fighting for a rear naked choke, touching the body with the rib shots and face shots and stuff like that. So I can understand why the judges gave it to Burgos, but again, this is what the judges don't do. If you look into the criteria of MMA, Jourdain should have won on damage. He did more damage in the clinch with the knees to the body towards the end of that round. Honestly, I feel like Burgos had a broken hand. Just going to put that out there, because he was throwing elbows. In the first round, he threw a couple of punches, but he wasn't doing too well with them. But he was like never throwing his right hand, never really throwing his left hand. He was just sort of like trying to clash heads, trying to get the back in the takedown attempt, kicking the inside leg a couple of times. And he did a good job of that in round 1 as well. But, you know, on the knees to the body, Jourdain should have won based on damage. But it was a very close round. With that rear naked choke attempt and the crowd going crazy for Burgos. Oh, it's in, it's in. Like, it wasn't really that in. But you can get why the judges would assume that. But Jourdain won the third and arguably could have had a 10-8 round in the third because he beat the hell out of Burgos in round 3. And one judge apparently gave him round 3 as a 10-8. Or one judge gave Burgos round 2 as a 10-8. But not Jourdain round 3. So Jourdain should have won if anyone should have won. I wouldn't be mad at a draw. But if anyone needs to win that, and there needs to be a winner, which there does need to be, you got to follow the rules and give Jourdain round 1 and round 3. But Shane Burgos got it done. It was mainly the noise and the hype of the submission attempt, and he got a couple of takedowns before that where he was just sort of like muscling around Jourdain in the clinch. So he did what he did to muscle around Jourdain, but I swear to God he has a broken hand. I swear to God. I was watching him like frame off, land elbows. Like, he's in the pocket this close, inside leg kick, elbow, while Jourdain's just fucking punch over and over again. Like, he just wasn't throwing punches back at all. I have no idea why. But it wasn't a good performance from him. But he'll move on anyway. And Charles Jourdain, yeah. He didn't lose any stock. This is kind of better for the division. Burgos gets to move forward. He's an older guy. Jourdain's still very young. He doesn't lose any stock. Have him fight Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy. If he wins that one, put him against a ranked opponent again. He doesn't lose any stock whatsoever, in my opinion. Moving on to another fight up the card, which is Lemos Schnell versus Mudaerji. I went with Mudaerji by TKO in the second round. It looked like he was going to get that TKO in the second round. The first round wasn't going too well for him. They both had some decent shots on the feet. Mudaerji was landing like inside leg kicks over and over again, but Matt Schnell eventually got a takedown, and Sue wasn't really too good whenever he was on the ground. We haven't really seen him there before in his career, but Matt Schnell was passing right over the guard like nothing, right into full mount, and then just landing shots. And then Sue Mudaerji would like sort of buck over and end up on top and stop the back take and stuff like that. So he would adjust and make something happen, but at the same time, Schnell won the first round. Mudaerji did okay. It was a close first round, but you got to give it to Schnell on damage and positional control. And then round 2 as well. Sue Mudaerji's beaten Schnell to smithereens in round 2. Just beating him to smithereens in round 2. Like, smacking him up. I think Schnell was rocked on like 5-6 occasions. No joke. Like, straight left hand, wobbles him. Elbow, wobbles him again. Elbow again, wobbles him again. Right hand counter, wobbles him into the cage. Gets to him again. Elbow around the guard, wobbles him. Straight left hand, wobbles him again. But Sue Mudaerji would just never follow up on that. He'd hurt him bad and then just sort of stand there like... and then grab the arms a bit and miss an elbow. And he just had no urgency to just fucking blitz in and go crazy and just get the finish that he needed. But eventually Matt Schnell got the takedown, found himself on top, right into full mount again. Mudaerji's got no guard game whatsoever on the bottom. Matt Schnell passed over his guard like nothing on so many occasions. And credit to Matt Schnell, man. Tough as hell. Landed some big shots. Big shots on top. Eventually, Sue Mudaerji tried to roll over and end up on top himself, but he was so exhausted, he just sort of like stayed there, like bleeding out on top of Matt Schnell while he set up a triangle choke on him and tried to get a good angle to stay alive in there. But eventually, Matt Schnell grabbed the leg, adjusted it, and found himself in a bit of a deeper choke. So Matt Schnell gets it done. Good job to him. Great job, Matt Schnell. Amazing performance. One of the best fights I've seen. One of the best rounds of the year for sure. With that second round, the first round was So fight of the year, I don't know, but round of the year, that round 2, definitely in the conversation moving forward. Moving on, Jingliang versus Muslim Salikhov. I picked Jingliang to win this one by decision or TKO in the late, I think I said third round TKO, Jingliang as the fight went on. I said he'd melt Muslim Salikhov and beat him or something like that, but he got it done in the second round. Very good job by Jingliang. Muslim Salikhov had a decent first round. I think he won that first round based on a takedown that he got, and I was kind of shocked, like, oh my god, Muslim Salikhov's shooting takedowns, this ain't too good. It was a close first round, but Salikhov landed the better shots, got the takedown as well, landed some total strikes there, and won the round because of that. But you could see Salikhov start to slow down a little bit too much, in my opinion. Started to slow down. Of course, he's 38 years of age. I knew that was a factor coming into this. Start of the second round was close again. Jingliang was doing a good job of chewing up the leg of Muslim Salikhov, whereas Salikhov was headhunting a little bit too much and spinning a little bit too much, like wheel kick, spinning back kick, wheel kick. Like, it was just a bit too much from Salikhov, in my opinion. And then eventually Jingliang landed a big shot, hurt Salikhov bad, started hunting him down, landed a couple more big shots that partially landed, and Salikhov's on the retreat, and then set him up with like a beautiful lead hook, straight right hand combo that put down Muslim Salikhov for good. And then he kind of tried to come up on a single leg at the end, so I guess you shouldn't have stopped it that early, but he was hurt so badly on the way down and already been hurt before that as well, so I get why the referee jumped in, but yeah, arguably you should have let him try and fight that single leg a little bit and let Jingliang see if he could follow up with some ground and pound shots. But Jingliang gets it done by TKO in the second round. Good job, Jingliang. I picked him to win as an underdog, and he got the job done as an underdog, so good for him. Moving on to the co-main event, Michelle Waterson versus Amanda Lemos. I had Amanda Lemos winning this one by decision. She got it done by finish. First round, I gave to Lemos. She landed some big right hands in the first round, but you gave, like, the takedown of Michelle Waterson Gomez now, new names. If a woman gets a takedown in a fight, she just wins the round no matter what. So I guess you can give her that round. Women's MMA rule set, not about damaging shots. It's just about sort of like who gets a takedown in a close round wins the fight. But then round 2, Lemos landing some really big right hands now. Waterson still doing good at range, feinting on the outside over and over again, but occasionally landing like a glancing blow on Amanda Lemos. Then when they clashed again, after a couple big right hands from Lemos, Waterson tried to get it down to the ground again, and Amanda Lemos latched up a guillotine choke with the arm in. There was a bit of controversy because the referee couldn't really see it, so it kind of was on the, okay, let's trust the word of Lemos and Waterson that the tap actually happened here, because we couldn't even see if there was a tap, but you kind of saw the arm move of Waterson from the angle we were watching at, so I just assumed that she tapped. But there was a bit of controversy there, but when you see the replay, she tapped on the side of Amanda Lemos. It was a very tight arm-in guillotine, and Amanda Lemos gets it done by finish. Good for her. I like watching Amanda Lemos fight. For a women's fighter, she actually puts on good performances, and it often ends in a fun fight or a decision. So good for Amanda Lemos. Very good performance from her, and she gets to finish in the second round. Moving on to the main event. Of course, Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. I've talked about what's going to happen afterwards and all of that stuff on the main channel video, breaking down the entire fight itself. But I just wanted to talk about the fight itself, rather than the injury and all that. Of course, Ortega did get injured, but it was Yair who put him in that position to get injured. So you got to give credit to Yair in that situation. And Ortega just wasn't really too cautious on the ground. In all honesty, I think Yair was really piecing him up on the feet quite badly, landing some good shots like that, landing big shots over and over again, and Yair had the submission that caused that injury. It wouldn't have been the injury that he was looking to get, and it was mainly an injury and stuff like that, but yeah, good stuff from Yair Rodriguez. It wouldn't happen 99 out of 100 times, but it happened, and it was because of something Yair did that it happened. So you have to give him credit for it. It wasn't like a freak, oh no, his leg snapped in half when there was no even kick checked or anything like that. And oh no, he landed funny on a takedown and his arm snapped. Like, it wasn't like that type of situation. It was like an active thing that Yair tried to do. Didn't get the result that he wanted, but got a result nevertheless. So you have to give him some credit there. But before that, Yair Rodriguez Ortega going back and forth on the feet. Yair clearly getting the better of the stand-up exchanges, landing really big shots in that position. Straight right hands, front kicks to the face, leg kicks of his own. Yair was just looking great in that fight. So good for him. I would have loved to have seen it go on into the later rounds, because if that arm-shoulder injury doesn't happen, Ortega's on top of Yair with 30 seconds to go in side control, and that would have been really interesting to watch. So, yeah. Amazing stuff from Yair, but not the way we wanted it to end. But either way, a good performance nevertheless. So good job, Yair Rodriguez. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.